guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be ranking some palettes. I think I have 9 different palettes here to talk to you about. 9 palettes that have been recently brought into my collection. I've had time to play with them, I've had time to explore and do different looks with them and try out different formulas and different techniques, and I now am ready to give you my final thoughts and ranking for this collection of palettes. In my description box are a couple of playlists related to eyeshadow collections, tours, rankings, declutters, things like that. If you like this sort of content, you'd probably like all of those videos. So let's get going. If you're very familiar with my channel, you know that I try to keep my collection pretty curated, kind of quite manageable. I don't want to have hundreds and hundreds of palettes because I know that things will get neglected. I might not have time to actually use all of my favorites. And I'm also a little tight on money generally, so I'm on a low buy all the time, sometimes just a no buy. But I have actually had a surprising influx of palettes to my collection in the last couple of months, between getting unexpected PR for the first time this year, as well as somebody like a fellow YouTuber here sent me 8 or 9 different palettes, and then I sold some and I had a little bit of money in Mercari, and so I grabbed a couple that I'd been eyeing for a while. There were actually a lot of new palettes in my collection, and that's just what it's been. So we're gonna start at the bottom of the list. It looks like I've actually got 8 palettes to talk about today. So the very bottom of the list is going to be the Kaleidos Glowing Iris palette, which I don't even have in my hands to show you. I'll put up a picture on the screen. This was one of 2 palettes from Kaleidos that was given to me because I specifically wanted to try the formula. I'd heard good things. I see great videos on Instagram, and I thought, maybe they have a shimmer formula that I would love. Lightweight and sparkly, those are the things I'm looking for in a shimmer formula. So when this fellow YouTuber offered me palettes from her Declutter, I chose the ones from Kaleidos so that I could see what the brand was like. The Glowing Iris quad was all purple, and as you can see, it's very pretty. It's very cool toned blue based sorts of purples. The reason that this is lowest in the ranking was not really anything to do with the quality. It was just, first off, it's a quad. Second of all, it's a monochromatic quad, so you basically have one option. But also, I found that while I liked the formula, it wasn't my tip-top favorite. And I will say later, when I talk about Kaleidos further on in the video, there seems to be a difference in how my experience when I was using the colored mattes as opposed to the more neutral leaning mattes. I liked the formula, but I just felt that it over blended a little bit. It spread around just a little bit too easily. I would have preferred something a bit more grippy. And also, I think that the quad didn't have enough variety in depth. I think it should have had 1 mid-tone, 1 deep purple, and 1 pastel purple to give us more options. Honestly, even within the monochromatic color story, you can do more if you have more depth. The shimmer was very pretty. It was lightweight, it was sparkly, but at the end of the day, it's a monochromatic quad, and I ended up passing it on to a friend. By the way, if you're curious, I did film today's eyeshadow look. This was part of my week of Plain Jane. Oh, my air conditioner just kicked off. Haha, maybe you can hear me better. I don't know if that video is live now or will be going live shortly after this video is published, but just check my channel for Week of Plain Jane and you'll find this look along with 3 others. Anyway, next in the ranking, let's talk about What's Up Beauty. Now, I placed this order, I purchased these myself, and they were having a big, like 60% off sale. So I got the Desert Monsoon palette for like $13, I think, maybe $16, something like that. And then they had these 2 little duos for $2.80 a piece, I think. And I was like, well, why not? So I got the 2 duos. There was the Plumeau and the Latitude. So I'm going to talk about them in order. The first one, a little bit lower in today's ranking, is the Plumeau, and it was pretty. It was fine. It was fine, but I really shouldn't have bought them because they're duos, and I'm never going to use a duo except maybe traveling when I've brought nothing else with me, because I don't really use much makeup when I travel. I shouldn't have bought them, and I did, and that they ended up quite low in the ranking simply because they're duos. There were only 2 shadows. The mattes within these palettes were not terribly different, but they're pretty. The Plumeau one was definitely more purple leaning, and the shimmer in it was a beautiful soft purple, but it wasn't quite as sparkly as I wanted. It seemed to be a little more hard pressed. And I figured I'm probably honestly not going to use it, so I'll include that as a freebie in a Poshmark or Mercari order. And then the one slightly higher than that in this ranking is the Latitude, which I like. And I mean, I really like the shimmer in that one, especially very light, very sparkly. And I actually got 2 because the one that arrived to me first had a little scuff mark in it, so they sent me a replacement. The one that has a scuff mark I will use and have already put it in my travel bag. And then the brand new one that's untouched, that's going to go in a giveaway for subscribers if I ever get to 1,000 subscribers. Anyway, these duos were not bad at all. I really love the What's Up Beauty formula. They had to rank low because there were only 2 shadows. They're tiny. Now we're going to talk about some palettes that I can actually hold up to show you. Let's dive into Simply Posh Cosmetics and the Citrus Punch palette. This was given to me by that YouTuber, and I love this color story. It's just so vibrant. I just think it's gorgeous. It's so bright and beautiful. The reason that this palette is ranking where it is twofold. First off, like many of Simply Posh Cosmetics palettes, it doesn't go deep enough for my taste. The top row and the bottom row are a little bit too close. As far as I'm concerned, they're all mid-tones. I really wish that we had kept this depth and then gone even darker on the entire bottom row. Just like going back to that Kaleidos quad, I think it rounds things out. It gives you more options. You could go all pastel if you want to. You could go really deep and dark if you want to, and you can do everything in between with any combination of pastels to blend things out and darker tones to deepen. And then the second reason this palette is falling lower is because all of the shimmers have hard pan. As far as I'm aware of, Simply Posh has reissued this palette with their newer updated formulation. So if you were to order a brand new one, I think you would get better shimmers that don't hard pan. This is like their first release of the Citrus Punch, and that's actually why the other YouTuber decluttered it, because the shimmers had hard panned. But on the whole, when I've used this palette, I do get beautiful looks, and I can't complain about the shimmers as far as using them on the eye. When you actually translate them onto the eye, they pull beautifully. They shift and they sparkle and they're glimmery and they're very impactful. It's just, they're hard to get. They're hard to pick up out of the pan, whether you use a finger or a brush. I had mentioned earlier about the other Kaleidos palette. Now we're going to talk about the Sashimi City. This was from their Futurism collection, and this is honestly from a very well-loved collection. So let me talk about it. I think this one's beautiful. Now, I am not a neutral lover. I actually prefer colorful eyeshadow on the whole, but I've come to a point where I really appreciate neutrals. I understand the appeal of neutrals more than I ever have before. Like today's look is pretty neutral, and when I wear neutrals, I feel pretty. When I wear colorful looks, I feel fun and creative, but maybe not pretty. I mean, I so often will look at a bright, colorful, very interesting eyeshadow look and I'll go, oh, that's so cool. But I don't usually say it's pretty, or I don't usually feel pretty when I wear it. So for me, that's the distinction. I understand neutrals more than I did before. I appreciate them more, and I actually enjoy wearing them more than I ever have before. The Sashimi City is a nice balance of warmer tones and cooler tones. Even the cooler tones are still kind of warm, but they're not as warm as a sandy yellow. The shimmers in here are beautiful. I do wish it went a little bit darker. Even like these two are similar in depth, but I wish this one was like 2 or 3 shades darker. And I think that would have finalized the palette for me. But there is an inner corner highlight. You've got brow bone highlights, a nice arrangement of mid-tone depth, and this one's, it's definitely light enough for my skin tone to work. And I was gonna compare this to the Glowing Iris in that when it comes to the over blending that I felt with the Kaleidos formula, it's not really an issue with something that's more neutral, because it's gonna blend more easily into your skin without pulling out too far or getting out of control. That's hard to do with a purple or a blue. I think that an overblending formula is much more forgiving when you're working with neutral tones. So that's the reason that this palette is so much higher than the other one, because I actually enjoyed working with this, and if I did blend a little too far or place too far out, it was pretty easy to correct. Another palette that was given to me is by my very favorite brand, Udiney. This is the counterpart to a palette that I have had from almost the beginning. I think from my very first Udiney order. I ordered the Cat's Breath palette, and this is its sister, the Saga of Freya Amber Tears palette. This one is ranking higher than Sashimi City because it's comparable, I think, in color story, but it has more. It's a little bit bigger, it's got more pans, and it has more interesting color tones because instead of just neutrals, a little bit warm and a little bit cooler, we have peaches and salmon kinds of colors. We've got this purple up here, and then this shimmer here is purple, pink, blue, white iridescent. It's very interesting. It's sort of a marbly shade. We've got a warm shimmer here, a couple cool shimmers, an inner corner highlight. Again, my only qualm with this palette, like Sashimi City, is I wish it went darker. I wish that one of these, I don't care which one of these two were darker, and that would have completed the palette as far as I'm concerned. It's beautiful. I've really enjoyed playing with it. I've gotten some lovely looks out of it. And I think it's really pretty. So when I want something that's light, a little bit more rosy, a little bit more soft, not quite as dramatic, I'm gonna grab this one. In spot number 2, I've got the What's Up Beauty Desert Monsoon. This was their first palette of their 3 so far, and I think the palette's beautiful. Now, I'm a little surprised this is number 2, but let me tell you why. First off, I think the What's Up Beauty formula is tip top. It is absolutely amazing. It's definitely, I don't know, top 5 for me. I think it's beautiful. It's so easy to work with. The colors are true. You're gonna get what you want to get. The shimmers are beautiful. What did I say? Lightweight and sparkly all day long. On the whole, they play their mattes very safe, and they should probably push themselves a little bit further with their next palette, because all of the mattes in all 3 of their palettes they're definitely different, but they're kind of close. The reason that this is a little bit lower, this is number 2 instead of number 1, is mainly because of this blue shimmer. It's a beautiful blue purple shimmer, but I just know myself, I don't tend towards darker shimmers, and this is for me a little on the darker side. I'm probably not going to use it very much, if at all. I have used it. In fact, I had somebody say that she was kind of scared of the blue shimmer in her Monsoon palette, so I thought that that was a bit of a challenge, and I wanted to see how I could use it. And I liked the look. I had no complaints or problems with the look. It's just not a shade that I'm going to naturally gravitate towards, and that's why this is in number 2 instead of number 1. And in number 1, we have the Ace Beauté Classical Paradise palette. I've wanted this one for quite some time. It was never really digging at me like, oh, I want it so much. But every time I thought about it, I just had this reaction like, oh, that's really lovely. You know, I think I'd like those colors. I'd wear those colors. And I have. I love the color story in this palette. And the reason this is ranking number 1, even though technically I prefer the shimmer formula of What's Up Beauty a little bit more, I'm going to use every shade in this palette. All of them, no exceptions. I have done some really beautiful looks with this. They're very impactful, they're very dramatic, they're very dynamic, but this palette's quite well rounded. You can go more neutral, you can go lighter, you can go darker. There's almost like this is a really dark berry. You've got some more reddy tones, some more purpley tones, some more neutral tones. I think I said light inner corner highlights is beautiful light green, and then you have tones that work all together. You know, you've got the lighter, more neutral shimmers, you've got darker neutral shimmers, you've got more purpley, pinky shimmers over here. It's just like a harvest dream, and I think it's very versatile, and I love the looks I get from this. The shimmers, as I said, are not as lightweight and sparkly as the What's Up Beauty shimmers. These are a little bit more like, and this is Ace Beauté's newer formulation, kind of along the lines of Sydney Grace in terms of how creamy they are, but a little bit thicker and a little bit more reflective than Sydney Grace, more like Glam Light or Beauty Bay. So they're kind of between those two, I think. What's Up Beauty shimmers are a bit more glittery. They're more sparkly, not quite as opaque and creamy. They're all beautiful. They're all beautiful. It's just a matter of formula. And the only reason that this has ranked higher than What's Up is because this is a color story that I'm just a little bit more drawn to lately, and I know that I'm going to use all of the colors in here. There's not a single color in here that makes me think, oh, I probably won't use it. Like, it's pretty, it works, but I won't use it. No, every one of these is bomb. So that's my most recent palette ranking. I'd love to hear your thoughts as usual. Do let me know in the comments. Which of these palettes do you have? Where would you rank them? Would you have put them in a different order? Do you love some of them? Do you not love some of them? Have you never even heard of some of them? I don't think I have anything obscure in here, although Sashimi City is pretty old. But anyway, of course, I love chatting with you guys in the comments. I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming here, for clicking on my video. Perhaps you'll consider liking and subscribing if you want to. Before you go, if you want to see more content like this, and be sure to check the description box for various links and information, playlists, etc. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye, guys.